If you'd like to support this channel, we invite you to check us out on Patreon. Thank you so much. So what I've got going on here is the back of this mower's got these mounting points here, and it's made for a bagging system. And since I don't have that right now, what I'm going to do is build a system up that can quick connect here and quick connect down here for some support. And then I can take it off and we can use this tractor to pull the trailer around or anything else that we decide we want to do with this thing with some drags or whatever. So I've got some metal. I've got some scrap metal from some old brackets in the back of a truck, and so I've been kind of playing around with some ideas here with how I can build this out to support that tank and hold the boom across here and all the different things. So I'm just going to work on this today, cut this stuff up and walk you through kind of my thought and my design and see how it turns out. So I got these cut. I can kind of show you more of what I'm thinking here. So I got these two pieces. Got this other piece of scrap metal here, some angle iron. So it's going to help support all this and the weight of the tank with the water in it. But then this drops down enough that it, along with the boom, it doesn't have the nozzles on it right now. This boom will mount across here, and that will have it at the correct height. So something to pay attention to whenever you're working with T-Jet nozzles is they have specifications on how far apart they are and also how high off the ground they are. And so to the bottom of this tip, it's supposed to be 20 inches from the ground to get optimal coverage. And so if I've measured everything right, by the time this is all done, that tip should be right around 21 inches. It's about as low as I could get it with the amount of metal that I had without creating a whole bunch of extra work. So 21 is close enough for what we're doing. So that's kind of the idea. And then I'm gonna have a piece of flat bar I'm gonna bend to go back here for some support, and that'll help hold all this up together. If you'll take a punch and punch your mark on your metal, it'll keep that drill bit from walking around on you, and then it'll give you a precise hole every time. So the back of the mower's got this 1/2-inch hole in it. And so I bought these clevis pins that have a bunch of holes in them. Drilled a 1/2-inch hole here in my aluminum bracket. So the idea was to put that clevis pin in there. I should be able to set my mount over that. I've got these hairpin cutters that go across here. The only thing I don't like about this setup right now is it's kind of hard to get to that pin. It's hard to pull on it. So what I'll likely do is either bend that up or put a washer underneath it, but then that's just something else to have to hang on to. So if I bend this loop up and I put this bungee cord on it, so if I attach this here and attach it to that cotter pin, then it's not a cotter pin, it's a hairpin. So if I attach those together, then I've always got this bungee tied to it so I won't lose my pins whenever I take everything apart. So it makes pulling things apart pretty easy. All right, so you can see bent that upwards a little bit. So now when that slides through there, it's a lot easier to deal with. And then if we take this on here, you can see the idea behind that is when it's attached, that pulls out, it stays together. So I think that's what I'll end up doing with that. So the next piece that needs to go in there is this angle iron. And I think I'm gonna put it out here because on the bottom of my tank is where I have the suction hoses. They suck off the bottom and go to the inlet of the pump. So I've got to have room in here for that. But then the other thing I was thinking about is having my boom out here away from the mower, because if I ever spray it with blue marker or anything like that, I really don't want that sprayed all over the lawnmower, because that stuff's just hard to get off everything. So I think I'm gonna keep this out here. And then I've got this flat bar that I'm gonna bend and make fit to where it supports these pieces coming around here. So that's what I'm gonna try to figure out next is square this top bracket up and then put this angle iron on here, and I'll shape this so that it fits and lines up for this to support this correctly. So I decided to change my approach a little bit. I'm gonna bend this piece first and get it shaped the way I want it, and then I can make that angle iron piece fit exactly where I want it so everything's level and sits upright. So I'm gonna try my luck at this MAPP gas and just see if I can get that thing hot enough to bend it over or not. This bar may be too thick, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Trick's to beat it with a hammer. All right, so that worked perfect. So basically what I need to do is just pick a point in here and mark it. And we'll bend it back up the opposite direction. I can cut the length and I can get all this level the way I want it to be. Okay, let's see if this works out. All I have to do is attach this and basically move this up or down where I want it to get all this level. So somewhere up in there, and that should all work out just fine. I got the room I need for the tank, and the boom will be out here out of the way. So I think that's gonna work out pretty good. It's still hot. So I planned for these 1/4" bolts to go through the support piece and the angle iron, hold it together. So I've marked the center of this piece. I'm just gonna put 2 holes in this to get started, and I'll get all lined up and put it all together. All right, so now I got this all bolted up, and hopefully this will all fit real nice, and I think it's going to. So next thing I'm gonna do is square this all up, put some screws in here to help stabilize it, and also put another hole down here in the tractor with a clevis pin so that I can quickly release that and take this whole thing off. All right, so the way I'm gonna get this centered up is we've already squared up our silver pieces. Now I need to center up this black metal bracket. And so you screw it back to your origination point to make sure you have the same overlap on both sides. So I've already moved this around. I've got 2 15/16 on both sides of it. And I'll be able to mark the center. That way when I get out here, I know exactly where the center is. All right, so I went ahead and drilled me a hole through this plate here. I've got the bolt in it. I'm going to see about getting this set up here where it needs to be, get it square. I'll do the same on the other side. So all right, so this is pretty stable. Doesn't rock too bad. It stays pretty steady, and I think that'll support 100 pounds of water or whatever's in that tank. And it also won't rock too bad as we go up and down the slopes of this property here. So the last thing I've got to figure out is some hooks to put the straps on for the tank. Got to put the boom across here and a little support piece in here to hold the battery in. And then we'll do some electrical wiring. I'm still reusing some pieces I had that was on my fertilizer spreader. So for instance, the bolt that the boom rests on, I had designed it to where it would sit on there and I could put this pin through it, and that would keep that boom to where I could easily remove it. You know, so if I need to go through a gate or something, I could take it off. So I've measured my existing holes. They were 16 inches apart. So I'm just gonna mark off center, 8 inches each direction, put a 1/2 inch hole in here for this bolt. So I had to wrestle that a little bit. My 1/2 inch drill bit walked on me when I put these bolts in, so I've been having to work on that to get it to fit. But now it's all good, and I can put these pins in if I need to, and that'll hold the boom on. So next thing I'm going to work on is getting the tank mounted up. So you can see what I was talking about on the bottom of this tank. It's where my suction hoses are for the bottom, and I want to make sure I had room for those. So hopefully I did this right and I got enough clearance. So the idea is to have no clearance for all that to come through here, and it does. This is my outlet hose that connects to my spray boom. And I also need to be able to mount a battery back here. And I was going to have some hooks where I can put my straps on over the tank and support this as well. So far so good. And so I was going to take this shackle and mount it inside of here. That's going to allow my straps to have a place to hook in and set the right direction so that they can strap the tank down. We've also got some closed eyes that will fit into that aluminum channel that I had, so I can set it back here in the back as well. I should be able to take my strap, put it over there. Alright, so I got the build out complete. I've got my shackles in here and I've got my closed eyes up front so I can strap down my tank, and all that's worked out really well. I built out my boom the same way as I did on my fertilizer spreader previously, where I have this quick disconnect and it's on the outlet side of the pump. And that way I can take this boom off and I can get through a gate and I can put it back together real quickly and continue spraying without having to take everything apart. And so the next thing I need to figure out is a location for my battery and then wire up the electrical, and this thing will be complete. All right, so something I've given a lot of thought to is, why do you need a battery if you got a battery on a lawnmower and you can just attach all this to it? And you could do that and that would work out fine. But I think what I've decided to do is I'm gonna go ahead and put my battery back on here as separate from the lawnmower. That way I can leave this thing running to agitate, and I don't have to worry about it draining the battery of the lawnmower, and then the lawnmower couldn't start, and then I have a tank full of product that I can't spray because I gotta wait for the battery to get charged. So you kind of see the dilemma there. I just didn't want to take the risk of running down the battery and being stuck with a tank full of product that I can't use and it just go to waste. So I'm gonna build this out to where I've got this bracket back here, and this battery just fit back here like this. So you can see it fits real nice behind the seat. So I think that's what I want to do. This is a piece I had off on the spreader, and so I got some straps that go over the battery to hold it in place so it doesn't flop around while you're driving around. And it's always worked very well for me. All right, so what I think I'm going to do is I've got these quick connect cables here, and I've ran it down underneath the mower. And I want to bring it up inside the engine compartment here, because there's a little knockout right here that one of these switches will fit in. So I actually have a bunch of these waterproof switches so that I can easily mount that in there. So I've got to do some rewiring of some stuff, but I'm going to set that switch up where I can easily turn the pump on and off from up here to the control point. All right, so I got my cables ran through that hole underneath the lawnmower, and they come up right up here in the engine compartment. And so I've cut into the positive wire of this system to wire up to the switch. So I'll mount up here in the dash and send the voltage back here to the pump. And then I've got some more quick connects that connect up to my pump as well. Just like that, I think that thing's gonna be nice. Alright, so I got everything all wired up. I got battery in the back, like I mentioned, that way I don't drain the battery on the mower. Got coming up to the switch to turn the pump on and off, and it runs back to the pump. So we'll see if it works. So I like pumps running. So I think it's gonna work out pretty nice. And I like that I had all the controls up here, you know, where I could see them. Like I have access to my gauges, and I can adjust this for the back pressure, and I can also adjust the on off to the boom so I can agitate. I can do all that from sitting at the mower, so I think it's gonna work out great. So the last part of this is just put the T-jet nozzles back on the boom. And I told you guys when we started this whole thing, it needed to be around 20 inches. And so it has come out to be about 21, which is what I had expected based on all the amount of metal that I had. So it'll work out just fine. The idea is to keep it down low. The reason I do that, these are air induction nozzles, and so it puts a little pocket of air inside of the liquid that's coming out, and it makes the water droplet heavier, so that way it makes it to the ground and it doesn't drift as much. So that's why it's meant to be down low like this. That way it gets down on the ground and doesn't go everywhere. So I'm really glad to have this one done. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I'm glad to have this done. I'll finally be able to get started on the lawn, start getting some pre-emergent out there on this property that hasn't been touched probably in years. So there's a lot to do, a lot to spray, a lot of things to clean up. So this mower is going to be really nice to have to help clean up everything, get things prepped for the renovation that's coming up. So hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys hang along, stay tuned for our new series of the worst lawn on the block. We're going to start renovating this lawn pretty soon. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. We'll see you in the next one.